Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the next video in this series of over 300 plus videos now on A Course in Miracles. And if you're just joining me, I want to invite you to scroll here on YouTube and start all the way back from the start. If you're picking up the workbook for the first time, that would be especially helpful. Now, if you're just popping in and you want to do what you want to do and watch this anyway, no problem. I appreciate your watching. While you're at it, feel welcome to subscribe to this channel. So I'm going through the workbook for students, the famous, or shall we say, infamous workbook for students in A Course in Miracles. And I'm on lesson 269 with you today. So if you've never been through this before, this is a really wonderful collection of universal spiritual ideas designed to start at lesson 1. So if you're going to do it and go through it, start at the start. Yet you're more than welcome to scroll and pick the video that you like best and watch it, because even if you do that and you just pop in and one day you watch lesson 180 and then the next day you watch something else that I've got on there and then lesson 45, even if that's what you do, you'll still get something out of watching that video. Why? Because this course is universal. So this can form the backbone of your own spiritual practice. It can be all of your spiritual practice, or it can be a handy tool to help you shed light on your own path. If you are comfortable with other paths, then by all means, keep going with those. These principles are universal. Means what it says. It applies to everyone, and really any form of spirituality that is universal in presentation, that is universal in application. That's important. In application, anything that's universal is well worth your time. It's what we would call in the world authentic, because it applies to everyone. Now, if there is no separation of any kind, then of course it applies to everyone. So lesson 269 is a very important idea. It's a very important idea, and it introduces the subject of the next 10 lessons, lesson 271 to lesson 280 in the workbook for students, which we're going to cover, have as the backdrop, the underpinning idea, the question, what is the Christ? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today by way of preview. Now, if you've been following along, you'll know that I've covered this subject here and there as it has occurred to me to cover it. In other words, as I've been instructed to cover it in random videos. So lesson 269 is, my sight goes forth to look upon Christ's face. My sight goes forth to look upon Christ's face. You will no doubt feel, even if you have never been told, that if you choose to see only love, that's what you will see, and it will come back to you. If you choose to see the world forgiven, that's how you'll see it. I think it would be most helpful to walk through the italicized prayer today that accompanies lesson 269. Not only is it beautiful, and it's very loving. It's a beautiful, loving prayer. And it takes us through a sequential progression of the path. So it's a microcosm of the entire spiritual path in and of itself. So I'll go through it sentence by sentence with you today, because I think that would be very helpful. And then we'll spend a little bit of time explaining how that all works. All right, so this is paragraph 1. Now, again, the idea in lesson 269 is my sight goes forth to look upon Christ's face. All right, I ask your blessing on my sight today. You can be God, it can be your guides, it can be Jesus, the Holy Spirit. I ask your blessing on my sight today. That's the first sentence. It is the means which you've chosen to become the way to show me my mistakes and look beyond them. Really interesting. We're talking about forgiveness here. We're talking about looking beyond error. Now, as you may instinctively, gut level, intuitively know in your heart, there is no sin. God has no ego to be offended, so there is no sin. When we in the world see ourselves as cut off, separate, other than, less than, greater than, any comparison at all, when we indulge in any fear-based thought, ego-based thought at all, we're simply making a mistake. This is the beauty on which forgiveness as a practice here with the Course in Miracles lies. It's a mistake. Our seeing things from a cut-off, separate point of view is simply a mistake. It's not a sin against God. It's not a sin against ourselves or our brother or anyone. It's not. It's a mistake that asks for correction only, not punishment, not death, not being drawn and quartered, not being burned at the stake. It's an error, and forgiveness helps us correct that error. All right, sentence 3. It is given me to find a new perception through the guide you gave to me, and through his lessons to surpass perception and return to truth. Okay, that guide is the Holy Spirit. It could be Jesus. Now, if you're following a path that is not a Course in Miracles, it can be your guide or guides, your teacher. So going beyond perception. Perception involves dualism. It is dualistic. Why? There's a perceiver and a perceived, a subject and an object, a me, a you, an us, a them. There are two seemingly separate things. So our walk here on the path is to go beyond that. How do we go beyond that? Well, with forgiveness. It's how we surpass perception and return to truth. So we've seen in a number of these videos that perception is an illusion. Forgiveness is an illusion. However, it's the only illusion that leads to the truth. The others lead quite manifestly away from it. Forgiveness allows our perception to be clarified or purified, if you want, changed, if you prefer, so that we see things for what they are. Now, we all will, must, can, will go beyond perception, because truth, our essential oneness with God, simply is. It can be known through experience. That's where we're all headed. It's actually beyond perception. It's beyond dualism of any kind. So in a world where we appear to be in a dualistic casing, right? At some speed, decomposing, let's be honest, physical casing. We appear to be in this. It's not who we are. But while we're here and think that we're here, and everything that we perceive reinforces that thought that we're right here, having a human experience, that's a term that we made up, in a physical body. While it appears that way, we need to take some comfort in the path, comfort in our guide or guides, and to use the tools that we have. Illusions. There's one that leads to the truth, and that is forgiveness. Leads us beyond all perception. But first, we've got to use it to purify, to cleanse, to change our perception. All right. Sentence 4, which kind of backs up what I just said here. I ask for the illusion which transcends all those I made. That's forgiveness. I ask for forgiveness. Okay, I give forgiveness. I ask for forgiveness, both. Giving and receiving are one in truth. That's straight out of this course. When you forgive one person, you forgive them all, including yourself. When you forgive yourself, if you say a prayer and forgive yourself, you're forgiving every single living thing. Why? There's no separation at all, period. Period. It's one reason why it's said that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is, in fact, just like any other. All right. Next sentence. The day I choose to see a world forgiven, in which everyone shows me the face of Christ and teaches me that what I look upon belongs to me and nothing is except your holy Son. In seeing the world forgiven, we look upon the face of Christ, which we come to realize through direct experience is our own face. There is a prayer in Tibetan Buddhism, which I've studied for quite a number of years in this lifetime. There's a prayer that continually repeats the refrain, may my own face know itself, may my own face know itself, may my own face know itself. Through practices, yeah, may my own face know itself. My sight goes forth to look upon Christ's face. Same, right? Spirituality is completely 100% universal. If it's universal in presentation and application, it's the same thing. My sight goes forth to look upon Christ's face. May my own face know itself. May I look on others and see them as myself. May I love my neighbor as myself and know that we are one. I added that part. Jesus approves of that, by the way. He approves this message. I invite you to go through, as you consider lesson 269, I invite you to go through and read this prayer. And it is a short summary of the whole spiritual path. We make a choice right now in the present moment for love, for God, for forgiveness. We forgive. We choose to see things as they are. When we do that, we change our perception. It becomes so radically changed that we look upon a world, in the end, right, totally forgiven. And at that point, according to the teachings of the Course, well, and this will happen for you. When, I don't know, may not be in this body when it happens, but it will happen for you. When our perception is completely non-dual, right? When we see things as they are, when we see our brother as ourself, right, we go beyond perception. We can't make it totally non-dualistic, but we can approach that point where, as the Course tells us, God takes the final step himself. When we look upon a world forgiven, we instantly go beyond it. God takes that final step. We're absorbed into him, where we've always been. Where else would we be? So our task here in the world is to forgive. It is to engage in spiritual practice so that we may see the world forgiven, and God takes the final step himself. This short paragraph, italicized paragraph that we've been through in this video is a short summary of that path. It's a microcosm of that path. And we will be spending in forthcoming videos significant amount of time talking about the Christ. So you may know that I'm not talking about just Jesus, the historical Jesus here. I'm talking about the Christ, which, as you're probably guessing, and you would be right, includes every single one of us. So have that to look forward to. And happy practicing today. When you remember to forgive, forgive. All right, as often as you can and must, and remember to do so. And I'll see you right back here on the next video.